Good afternoon, and welcome to GA for Justice. You know that the talk show that everybody over this around the world is talking about, and it's the one and only GA for Justice with your community activist, the one and only Miss Georgia Allen.
Well, hello. Are you excited?
Oh, no doubt about it.
Wonderful. I'm so excited to be here today. As always, every Thursday at 12 o'clock noon for 1 hour, we take a little bit of time out to say hello to our community and talk to them about a few things that may be of importance or significance to you. So again, I am Georgia F. Allen. It is high noon GA for Justice time. And today our KWANZAA principle focus is Ujima, which is collective work and responsibility to build and maintain our community together and make our community's problems our problems and solve them together. That's important. Ujima, U-J-I-M-A, Ujima. Okay. And today's topic is your vote. As always, from now until election day, it's going to be all about the vote. Is it sabotage? Is it sabotage or success? And today's scripture is from Psalms 94:16. Who will stand up for me against the wicked? Who will help me against evildoers? Now, if you've been paying any attention whatsoever to what has been going on the political level, front on all levels, be they local elections, statewide elections, or national elections, there is evil doers all around us that we must be alert. We must stay alert when it comes to that. And so we want to make sure that people recognize the difference between sabotage and success, because that's what's taking place all around us again. So greetings, everybody. Yes, it is Thursday. It is high noon, and I am Georgia F. Allen with GA for Justice. And as always, we want to shout out and say thanks to Mr. Henderson Vaughn, a.k.a. Captain 85, a.k.a. the Dream Maker, who has opened up the airwaves to bring our listening audience a conversation for information, a conversation for correction when necessary, as well as a conversation for transformation. It is critically important that if we're going to get information, that we're always in that transformative mode of how we can make things better in our different environments. Okay, so it can be something as simple as going to your neighbor next door and just having a quick conversation about what's taking place at this time with regards to laws that are being passed, with regards to changes on the local level that impacts our children or our grandchildren or great-grandchildren. These are the type of things that we can do to become transformational people. Now, I always like to do a disclaimer. As most of you know or are aware of, I have worked in the area of civil rights and have been a community activist for decades. Therefore, the various positions that I take are mine and mine alone. I do not speak on behalf of any groups or organizations unless I'm reading directly from their materials that they have presented and printed for use. So today, again, the topic today is sabotage or success. And what I want to talk about is, what are the things that seem to be sabotaging our community? Is it the gun violence? Is it the fact that children are dropping out of school? Is it the fact that many of our students are being placed on suspension, whether they've done something relevant enough to put them on suspension? What are the things that are sabotaging? Are we being sabotaged by what is taking place in our families? Are our families strong enough? What about our faith community? Are we being sabotaged by our faith community? Are the ministers preaching the word of God, or are they preaching their word specifically for them?
Hello.
What is happening? Why do we feel that we even have to ask the question about our community being sabotaged? Okay. I know people probably out there, they say, well, I wasn't ready for that. That wasn't.
Hey, I wasn't ready either, but hey, it's out there now.
And so we want to make sure that as we're looking forward, that we're looking at those things that may be sabotaging us. And sometimes keep in mind, people don't realize that some of the things that they're doing, some of the things they're saying, some of the ways that they're behaving, they don't even realize that some of that stuff is acting in a manner that is sabotaging us. We see a number of people out here today that are actively involved in so-called political arena. Okay, I know something you don't know. I got this group, I got this organization, and my organization is better than your organization. And unless we do it this way, what you're trying to do is not of benefit, because what I'm doing is smarter, is better, and therefore everything should come through me. However, a lot of times they haven't looked any further than their nose, as the old folks used to say.
Yeah.
They can't see beyond their nose. So all of this other stuff is going on all around them. And while they're working on this particular campaign, or they're working on this particular endorsement or whatever, they don't realize that that endorsement may be more detrimental than it is beneficial. So in effect, they have now sabotaged our community. So the question is, how do we have those conversations with all of these various groups who are operating in our community? And how do we bring them together and help them to see the significance of three little words? And those words are just as simple as the day is long. And those words are loyalty, unity, and love. Because if our community don't love each other, if they don't love themselves and they don't love each other, they're destined to sabotage each other.
Yeah.
If we are not united, which is one of the principles of KWANZAA, unity or umoja, if we're not united, we have a tendency to sabotage one another. And then that other word, that loyalty word, if you cannot be trusted, if you cannot be someone that we can rely on to be loyal to your community, you are sabotaging our community. So keep those three words in mind: loyalty, unity, and love. Because see, a lot of people out here operating in our community are sabotaging our community and preventing us from making it to success. Am I right?
Oh yeah, no question.
Am I right?
That's why sometimes you got to stay away. You got to go by yourself.
Absolutely. Now, the main thing is, how do we help these people to understand that we all have a lane? And some of us need to stay in our lane and stop messing in other people's stuff. Because when they do, guess what? Things get real messy, don't they?
Yeah.
And you're sabotaging the very thing that you seem to think that you want. Now, I'm not a preacher. However, I do have a message.
Hello.
I do have a message. So I wanted to come today and again talk about sabotage or success. Now, there's ways that we can be a little more successful as a community. When we work on voting, and we work on it from a standpoint of unity, of loyalty, and love, we're going to be a little bit more successful than we work when we work on it from a standpoint of arrogance, when we work on it from a standpoint of I'm better than you are. Okay. So what we got to make sure that we do is every place that we go is look for ways to unite the community versus all of this division that continues to exist in the city of Virginia Beach. And I'm focusing on Virginia Beach a lot because a number of things have been happening over the last 2 years, really a little bit longer, because of course there was a lawsuit here in the city of Virginia Beach, a lawsuit that the judge ruled in the favor of the plaintiffs to ensure that we have a better election system, one that was a little more fair, one that allowed persons who have been left out, left behind, let down, allowed them the opportunity to elect persons of their choice. But guess what? Things got a little fuzzy because other people saw the opportunity to elect people of their political affiliation, and that became more important than the community that fought for equity and justice. So guess what? That's a form of sabotage when a political entity or political party feels like what they want is far greater and far more important than the need of the person who was left out, let down, left behind.
Mm-hmm.
Are you hearing me?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Hey, I'm with you 199,000%.
All right now, because I want people to understand, be very careful the people that you embed yourself with. Notice I said embed myself with. I didn't say get in bed with.
Hello.
I said embed myself with. Okay.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we're simply just becoming a part of a system that's not working in our interest because we begin to do what people like to say. That's my friend. When they don't realize that's really their foe. They're not their friend. They're really their foe. So we got to be careful. And so this message is going out to all of the young people, all of the seniors, all of those who are involved in any way, shape, or form, is to help you to look a little bit beyond your nose. Because sometimes when all we can see is just, you can't see any further than our nose, we miss a lot. So I want us to come together and begin to look and then not only look at what's going on, but begin to investigate the why of what is going on, because that's what's sabotaging us, because we don't know what we don't know. So we got to sometimes dig a little bit deeper than just just taking a look at something and say, oh well, I saw that, and you saw it but you didn't really see it. As the late Joe Madison said, you want to listen with a third ear and you want to see with a third eye. You don't want to just listen. You want to listen with that third ear. You want to hear a little bit deeper so that you can make sure that you know what is going on, because what is on the surface is not necessarily what's down deep. And that's what you need to know. You need to know what's a little bit deeper. You need to get down deeper than what is that you're seeing just in a surface manner. So we're going to dig a little bit deeper today. There's a number of other things that are sabotaging us as we get ready for the election, as we get ready to vote. For those of you who have not voted. Now, I voted on September the 20th. I voted early. So I'm encouraging people to vote early, and I'm encouraging people to vote in person, because the reason why you want to vote early and in person is just in case you go into that, you go to the city. In our case, we call it all the way down to City Hall. Mm-hmm. You go down there and you get ready to vote. And as they pull up your name, they identify there's an issue or a situation. I don't like to use problems. There's an issue or there's a situation. Mm-hmm. Well, if by voting early, if a situation occurs, you now have time to correct that situation and get your vote in. But if you wait on election day and a situation occurs, there is no time to have a correction. There's no time to fix that situation. And so we are encouraging you, for those of you who are in the listening audience, whether you listen now or whether you listen later, please vote early. I really don't care what state you're in, wherever you are, vote early.
One
Because
question, but not to cut you off, but
no
they
problem.
can vote every day or just at certain days they can go in and cast
Right
the vote.
now, down at City Hall, you can
Mhm.
vote Monday through Friday from 8 to 5, I believe. But
Okay.
call first, because
Okay.
it could be 9 to 5. But
Okay.
call down there first and make sure so that you can go in and vote.
Mhm.
What we'll probably do going forward is put the number of the voter registrar's office phone number and let it scroll across the screen
Okay.
so that we can, remind people. It takes a few seconds to dial the digits. So dial the digits and check, because until you begin to get engaged, it's one thing when you hear something from someone, it's another thing when you take action. Because what happens a lot of times is everybody wants someone else to find all of the answers for them. Well, the good part about you looking things up, you know where it's coming from. When you look things up, you're now able to tell someone else how to look things up. And so if I share the information with you and then you do your due diligence, you have now educated yourself a little bit more than you were educated before. Do you have that number that you want to give out? Okay. And so we want to make sure that we're working, but we also want to make sure that other people are working as well, because you can get in the habit of giving people so much information, it begins to make them lazy. And that can be people that are your so-called friends or acquaintances, your co-workers or what have you. It could be family members. And after a while, you will find yourself in a situation where these people sabotage you because they're so needy, you can't get the things that you have to do done. And so it causes you to fall behind. And so that's why I want people to understand sabotage can take place in a number of different ways. Just as I shared, your family can even sabotage you by asking you to do things for them that they can easily do for themselves. And so, therefore, while you're doing all of these things for other people, that is preventing you from doing the things that you need to do on your own behalf. So, I'm not trying to be mean or anything like that. I just want people to begin to take actions that they can take themselves that will help to educate them as well. So, with that being said, we saw a couple of debates this week, I believe. We had the vice president debate on Tuesday evening, and then we had the senators of the Commonwealth of Virginia debate last night. And so when we watched the vice president debate, we heard a lot of things, and we saw a brand new person. Did anybody see that brand new person on stage? I don't think I've ever seen that person before. There was JD Vance and candidate Tim Walz. And I was like, well, where did he come from? I thought that all of a sudden there was somebody that had came out of the coffin, and there was this new person that came before the audience, because I don't recall this guy. He was calm. He talked with a little bit of intelligence. He presented himself in a manner that was somewhat pleasing. But you were always, the whole time you were watching, you were looking over your shoulder because you didn't know if there was another one that was going to come out or pop up or what have you. So when you are accustomed to someone acting in a certain way and a certain behavior, all of a sudden, I mean, you're talking transformation. That was transformation. And I'm sure it was under the with the intent to try to coerce people to look at him in a different light. And after hearing the polling, which I'm not a real fan of polling, and heard that after the debate was over, Vice President candidate Walt's percentage points went up 22%. I said, that's interesting. Here's this other guy, changed his whole demeanor, changed his whole everything. But at the end of the night, people was like, I don't know who that is. So they were like, I don't know who that is. So on the one hand, he thought he would sabotage people with misinformation, disinformation. Some of it was straightforward, inaccurate. Some was straightforward lies. But it didn't work because the other candidate percentage points went up 22%. So I suggest that you be real careful when you try to sabotage folk, because it may not turn out the way you think, and you may end up sabotaging yourself. So I thought that was a very interesting debate on Tuesday night with the two vice presidential candidates. Now I'm ready for full steam ahead. Go ahead and do your campaigning. And my recommendation is don't listen to the talking heads. Do what you do. Do what you know how to do the best, and do it to the best of your ability from now until election day. Because we got a lot of people out here trying to tell other people what to do. I'm sure you hear from time to time, Henderson. Here you are minding your own business, handling your own business, taking care of your family, and somebody always think they know what you're supposed to do better than you do. I know I hear, I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, why are you meddling in my business as Vice President candidate Waltz always loved to say, mind your own darn business. Now he uses the other D word, but I'm trying not to use that because we are live. but could these people just mind their own darn business? Could they do that? And stop trying to sabotage somebody else's household. Stop trying to sabotage somebody else's faith, someone else's morals, because my morals are not necessarily yours. So we want to look at this sabotage thing so that we can move towards success. One of the things that I have been reading some about, I'm not an expert on it, and that is Project 2025. And as I'm reading about Project 2025, you see where this group, it's the Heritage Foundation who put it together, decided that, okay, we know better than the Constitution. So we just basically, it's a book of something like 907 pages. They are saying that they know more than the so-called founding fathers of this so-called nation. And I say it that way simply because this nation was here before they ever arrived. Okay.
Hello.
It was here. And they decided that they would take the nation by force. And once they took the nation by force, they decided that they were going to have a governing body, which ended up being, we will write a constitution for this nation that we took by force, that we had to fight off England, we had to fight off France, we had to fight off Spain, we had to fight off Mexico, because all of them had parts of this nation.
Yeah.
And so they decided, as persons who had come over here, many voluntarily, many trying to get away from whatever they were dealing with, many weren't so voluntarily coming over here because some of those nations decided that they would empty their jails. They would find the folks that they didn't feel was contributing to their society over there. And they said, okay, well, look, we got a win-win situation. We put them on these boats. We send them over. If they die on their way there, we're rid of them. If they live and go to the other shores, we're still rid of them. So they were looking for ways to get rid of folks. Okay.
Yep.
And so once these people got here and there became a constitution and a governing body and all, and in our case, we have three forms of governance. One is the executive branch, one is the legislative branch, and one is the judicial branch, which is parts of the Constitution and how the Constitution operates. They operate with those three branches of government. Well, these folks said, look, I'm smarter than these other guys, so I'm going to write up my own. And so they decided they would write Project 2025. And so the things that we don't like, we're going to begin to tweak them and change them for some of, some self-interest things. Yeah. So when I started reading some of them, no, I have not read all 900 and some pages. Nope, have not done that, but I have read some of them. And I was looking at things that I was concerned as it pertains to my community. And again, for those of you who know me, I'm one of those people that I am pro my community. I'm pro Black, right, but not anti anybody. Okay. And so I'm going to start with the first one. Then I'm going to go to announcements, acknowledgments, and commemorations. And then I'll come back to the others. But the one that I looked at is housing. Now, most of us know and understand how important it is to have a roof over your head. And what we have seen is there have been a number of ways that housing has worked in this country. Some for good and some not so good, i.e. redlining. That would be a prime example. That was not a good way of developing housing in neighborhoods and saying, okay, you can move in, but you can't. I'm going to take this group of houses and I'm going to inflate the value of this group of houses. But over here, even though your house looks identical, the grass is cut, the neighborhood looks good, the children, his families, everything. But I'm going to deflate this group of houses. So therefore, you don't get to have the type of equity in your home that these guys over here have. Okay. So when they decided to take a look at housing, their primary goal was not to build more houses. Their primary goal was to take a look at how they could implement administrative regulatory policies. Okay. So I'm like, okay, you're going to do what? Well, one of the things that they want to do, and oh, by the way, they want to do this in 6 months. If they get a conservative elected to the presidency of the United States. It's a 180-day plan. Hello out there to all of y'all folks out there who are so anxious to get involved and decide who we should elect as our next person for council or school board and everything. What is your plan? Because these folks got a plan. It's written 109 pages or so. Over 900 pages. So this housing item starts on page 503. Page 503. You can pull it. You can go to Project 25 and start reading through the housing and what they like to try to do with the housing and everything. And so when I was reading it, I was like, okay, so y'all want to immediate redelegation of authority with political appointees. And I'm like, political appointees? Not they don't care too much for HUD. So there's not going to really be a HUD. They're going to be political appointees who prefer to do things their way. No real rules or regulations or anything like that. So they're going to set up and implement administrative regulatory policies. Therefore, there's no real law. There's no real guidelines because these administrative regulatory policies can change at will because there's no constitution that says that this is the way these policies are going to be enacted. There's no constitution that says that we're going to start a policy and that policy is going to stay in place. We can just we can just get rid of that policy, tear it up and start another one. Okay. So, for example, let's say you have a church. You have a very good church. You have a church that has been actively involved in the community. They recognized there was some land that they could build on. And so they saw this as an advantage for their congregation, for their members, and for other people in their community. So they said, okay, let's pull our resources together and let's build some housing so we can help to eliminate. We'll do our part. Can't do it all, but we'll do our part to help eliminate some of these unhoused people and some of this homelessness. Well, all of a sudden, this regulatory group comes in and said, man, they're making money. I don't like that group putting those houses in. But since they don't have any laws or regulations or any structures or any constitution that says that they can't do that, they decide they're going to go in, they're going to just take it. You know, they'll come along, they can take it, they can give contracts to their friends, and now their friends can begin to build houses on that land that someone else owned.
Right.
You said, well, that doesn't sound right. Well, did it sound right when they came and built land and built houses on the land that the Native Americans was on? So it doesn't sound a whole lot different than what things looked like years ago. So it appears, and I can't say I'm an expert. Okay, so just before anybody get all bent out of shape and get your teeny tiny twisted, okay, I'm just go ahead and tell you, I'm not an expert on this, but it just didn't read right when I was reading about it. I'm like, well,
And Southampton County drivers will get
who are these people? Remember, they're not elected officials. They are appointees
the speed cameras will be operated
by a conservative group of people who has determined that these appointees
per hour.
are the right people for those positions. So they definitely don't have to get confirmed by anybody because technically they don't believe in the U.S. Constitution anyway. So if you recall, in the past, when someone wanted to be appointed, they at least had to go through a process of being interviewed by Congress, and Congress could say, we approve this appointee or we don't approve this appointee. Okay. And so there was background investigation and things of this nature. I personally didn't see anything in these rules and regulations that suggested that any of these people had to have their backgrounds investigated. So for those of you who are listening and you are concerned about housing, because we heard that as one of the questions in the debate, both on Tuesday night as well as on Wednesday night, there's a loss of housing for various reasons. Why? One, older people are not moving out of their houses. They're like, look, I'm here. I'm going to stay here. I'm not trying to move out and open that property for young families or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sharing this with the listening audience with regards to 2025, because sometimes you think that things don't affect you. This is just to let you know that this is another way that you can be sabotaged, because if I have a team of people, say for instance, I was in charge, and the only people that I put in charge was not the qualified people. I just put my friends in charge of everything. I don't care if it was healthcare, and they could have had a background in electronics, but they're in charge of healthcare. Okay, we got a person that we now say they're going to be in charge of housing, but perhaps their background is in education. We got a person who is in charge of education, but their background is in housing. So as you can see, when I was reading through this Project 2025, there was no real correlation between the people who they were looking at and getting information from and the particular area that they were requested to review and work in. So as you guys are looking at how you're going to vote in November, as you're looking at what is of concern for you, a lot of people say housing is concerning because when they get out of college and they go to work, they have to come back home to their parents' house because they can't afford housing. Well, you may want to start reading Project 25, starting with page 503. All right. And take a look at how someone who has no background in housing is trying to establish how housing should operate in these United States of America. So I just wanted to put that out to you. Now I'm going to pause a moment and do some announcements, acknowledgments, and commemorations. We now have a former president who is 100 years old. Former President Jimmy Carter on October 1st had a birthday and turned 100. This is the oldest living ex-president in this country. Okay. We also had another birthday. Nat Turner birthday was October the 2nd. Al Sharpton and Mary McLeod Bethune, October the 3rd. Fannie Lou Hamer is coming up October the 6th. The Reverend Jesse Jackson and the late Toni Morrison is October the 8th. We also have some ancestors, some recent ancestors. Actor John Amos passed away at 84 years old. Itakembe Mutombo, former NBA All-Star player, recently passed away at the age of 58. And so we want to definitely remember our ancestors, but we also want to remember those who are still with us, like the Reverend Jesse Jackson, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and just make sure that we acknowledge our people, because none of us will be here forever. And so that's just my announcements, acknowledgement, and commemorations. I know there's a lot of stuff going on over the weekend, and it's too much for me to announce. I do, as always like to announce the NAACP general membership meeting. It is going to be October, the second Monday in October. I always tell you it's the second Monday. It never changed. It is the second Monday. If anything happens that it turns out to be another Monday other than the second Monday, I will let you know. But the second Monday in October will be October the 14th. It is held at the Hive at the town center. And if you don't know where that is, it's located on the corner of Columbus Street and Independence Boulevard, right on the corner. So you should be able to see it. It is on the first floor. So if you're not doing anything, it's 7 p.m. the second Monday of every month. We do invite you to join us at the NAACP, where we do our best to try to work on issues that pertains to our community as it pertains to civil rights.
Yes, and you did, mention those legends that passed away. So I just want to put that picture up. So,
Yes, thank you so much.
yeah,
We've lost a lot of legends this year. Lost a whole lot of legends, a lot of men. We've lost a lot of our men, and thank you so much for putting that up. From Frankie Beverly to James Earl Jones, Louis Gossett Jr.,
Yeah,
Carl Weathers. Is that Carl?
yeah,
Yeah, Carl Weathers. And I cannot say this gentleman's name, but I have seen him. He's on all the shows. He was on all the shows. Fantastic actor.
yeah,
And
yeah.
definitely don't forget our ancestors. We've lost a lot, and it seems like every day that we wake up, we hear about another one.
Yeah.
Both our seniors as well as some of our juniors. We've lost a number of young people this year as well.
Yep.
Absolutely. As a reminder, the NAACP believes that every vote counts. We are all in. And if you don't want to be sabotaged, please, please, please verify your voter registration. Check on it. Make sure that you check your voter registration. It's screening going across the screen, 757-385-8683. You can call down to the voter registrar's office and find out what their office hours are. But also, you can go and vote. So we definitely want you to stay engaged and stay involved. Again, today we're talking about sabotage or success. And I kind of roll it all in together. So as I'm talking about sabotage, if you want to be successful, you need to avoid the sabotage, okay? You just need to avoid it. I know that sometimes you need someone to say that to you, but if I let you know what can sabotage us, then that just means avoid that. If you're hearing people give you misinformation or false information and they're doing things that is detrimental, you want to avoid that, and you want to be alert to those type of things, and you want to make other people alert to those things as well. All right, getting back to a little bit more about Project 2025. The goal today was not to dissect everything in Project 2025, but just to make you aware. Okay. One of the things that we always like to look at with any of these situations, we want to look at criminal justice. We want to look at what's going on with our young people. And criminal justice is one of the places almost where our children go literally to die. And whether they die physically or whether they die in their spirit or whether they die from the fact that they are not receiving the type of tools and education that they need. The way our judicial system is designed, they look at the reading level of our children, not all children. They would have you believe that they look at all children, but they basically look at our children, and they allow the teachers to help other children who may be struggling. But our children, they look at our children and determine how many jails that they need to build.
Hello.
Okay. So when we're looking at the justice system and we're looking at what Project 2025 is looking to do, they're basically looking at, they call it, they want to protect your rights. They want a rule of law. This is how they preface it. But at the same time, they're looking at local government. And if they don't feel that the local government, this is what they're saying, if they do not feel that the local government is prosecuting what they call criminals at the rate or with the sentencing that this group feel should be done. They feel that they need to go into the local jurisdictions and place federal law enforcement there. Hello, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Place them there to enforce their laws, to make sure that people don't get minimum sentences, but that they get the absolute maximum. So what they're saying is, if a prosecutor, as in the case of the candidate for the presidency, they are saying Project 2025, and you can look this up as well, pages 552 to 572. Okay, that's the area that talks about criminal justice and takes a look at how they want to change and what they call protect rights. Yeah, they're gonna protect your rights by putting you in jail forever. Okay, versus looking at the situation and identifying, can this person be reformed and placed back on a safe track, back on a track where they are beneficial to society. This group is saying the department should increase federal law enforcement presence in jurisdictions where they don't feel that the criminals are being properly charged and they're not being given the right sentencing. Do you hear that, family?
Yeah.
They want to place federal law enforcement. So your local police officers, your state police officers aren't competent enough to uphold the law, to enforce the law, and the Commonwealth attorney or the prosecuting attorney or your attorney general, they're not competent enough to enact the right sentencing. How does that feel?
Hey, I already know. I know from experience. I already know how they play the game. You know, it's just that they pick and choose with law how to control who they want to control. And if you know, so that's why they're coming up with this new thing. You know.
And they also said, if these people on the local level are not properly enforcing the laws to their standard, they're going to initiate legal action against local officials. Now that could be your city council member.
Hello.
That could be your school board member. They said local officials. They didn't say local law enforcement. Did you hear me?
Yeah.
Where warrant?
What happened? Where you at? You should come back home. Well, she'll be right back. She probably. Let me send her another invitation.
At University of Maryland Global Campus, getting a bachelor's degree doesn't have to mean starting from scratch.
I apologize, folks. This one just blew my mind. Okay.
Okay. I thought they were listening.
It blew my mind when I read that. When I read where warranted, they will initiate legal action against local officials. So I'm like, is that? And they said including district attorneys. So I'm like, how far does this local official thing go? Okay, so that was my question. So I
Yeah.
have to read some more and find out, does that include our school board members? Does that include our city council members? So
I
for
hate to
those,
say it, but what other officials are they talking about?
that's what I was saying. I'm like, well, what other officials are they talking about? Who are all these officials that they're willing they're willing to initiate legal action? So people, this is serious business. I know I kind of make a little bit of a joke about it simply because I need to keep some of this stuff lighthearted, but I
Yeah.
also need you to go and take a look at and read what this document is saying. You need to read what it is saying. And that's why I chose to give you some page numbers so you don't have to, look all over the place. But one of the things that you can do is when you pull up Project 2025, go to the little search bar and search for housing, search for criminal justice, search for education, search for these different groups, these different areas, and take a look at what they're looking to do. And if that concerns you, again, my recommendation, if you're part of a group or organization, whatever it is that you're passionate about, study it, learn everything that you can about it, and then share that information with others who may not know about it. Share it with others because that's critical. If we're going to prevent these people from sabotaging us so that we can be successful, then we're going to have to educate ourselves about some of the things that this group is trying to do. And again, they have a 6-month plan, or shall we say, a 180-day plan. So I strongly recommend to all of you, if you don't want to be sabotaged and you want to be successful, you need to put together your 6-month plan. And we don't need 50,000 6-month plans.
Yeah.
I can share with you, if you go online to the NAACP website, you will see on their website, and you can go to the search bar and look up Project 2025, and you will see the civil rights organization will have our 2025 plan. You see that? So what they've done is they took a look at what Project 2025 is attempting to do, and they created a plan where they're looking at the things that Project 2025 is attacking. They're looking at their policy agenda. They're looking at their presidential administrative academy. They're looking at the 180-day playbook that they're putting together, which is what I've been saying this time, is they have a 180-day game plan. They're looking at their personnel database. What they're trying to do is build a network of far-right extremists to fill positions within the next conservative administration, ensuring that their operatives are in place to enact harmful government policies. And keep that in mind. They're not trying to enact legislation because that has to pass through an operating, functioning government. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Legislation has to go through a process. Policies don't. They have a policy agenda. So I want y'all to get that in your mind. The difference between legislation is it has to get passed by elected officials. Policy does not. Appointees can come up with a policy and they can go in their quiet place and agree that this will be the policy. Legislation has to be done in the public sphere where questions can be asked of the folks elected to office. Okay, that does not happen. That does not have to happen with this type of agenda by the Project 2025. So with that being said, it is always good to be with you every single Thursday. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was beneficial. Sabotage or success. It's your choice, folks. But vote. Vote,
Yeah.
vote, vote. Because that's going to determine whether Project 2025 will ever be enacted fully. With that being said, I am Georgia F. Allen, GA for Justice. Another week with my family and friends. Take care, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Hey, always a pleasure, always a great topic. And don't forget to share this with other people on your social media platform. And you can also email this to your family and friends as well. GA for Justice is every Thursday from 12 until 1. Hey, and you also can watch it on replay on Facebook. Nevertheless, thank you. Join us next week for more great topic. You know, will it be sabotage or we have to wait and see? Thank you so much, Georgia Allen, for hosting this talk show. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.